So we're doing a drinking game with the presidential debate. Would you like to explain the rules?
Yes. So, because we specifically don't really drink alcohol, we're just having a drink of our choice. That's not the important part. The important part is we have a list of things, list of topics that come up, list of keywords.
I'm gonna pull that up on my phone so I can see it.
And there's a big list of stuff that we have here. I'm gonna do the same thing. Big list of stuff that we have here that if they mention it, if they say certain thing, or if they do certain thing, we're gonna take a drink. And this isn't about getting drunk. It's about the comedic amount of times you will see us sipping from our cups.
And for me, it's about the suffering of the drink I've chosen.
Indeed.
So would you like to give us our list?
Okay. All right, I'm going to start. For any of the following topics that are brought up, we take a drink. Harris's ethnicity. Harris as the border czar. Trump's conviction. Trump's assassination. Fake news. The radical left. Project 2025. And that's all we have for that one. Some other events that happen. If one candidate tries to interrupt the other. If Trump says one of those stupid nicknames. If Trump mentions Tim Walz, or if Harris mentions J.D. Vance.
Okay, why did you ad-lib the list? You could have just read it all out.
I am reading it all out.
No, you didn't. You mixed up some stuff.
Oh, no, I read the first one you put down first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, read the most recent one.
If any of the following topics are brought up, we take a drink. Harris's ethnicity, Harris is the border czar, the Russo-Ukrainian war, Trump's conviction, Trump's assassination attempt, January 6th, or if any of the following words are said: abortion, fake news, Gaza, Hamas, or Israel, migrant crime, Project 2025, or weird.
And the other events?
And the,
No, don't tell them that yet.
Okay.
The top ones.
I mean, and some of the events that happen where we would take a drink would be one candidate interrupting the other. Trump says one of those really dumb nicknames he likes to give people. Trump mentions Tim Walz. Harris mentions J.D. Vance. And I think that's all we have. Is that all we have?
Yeah. And then we also have a very special secret item on the list. If it is mentioned, we will have to chug our drink. So, it's a secret, and you're not gonna find out unless it happens. So, all right. So, what drink have you chosen?
I have chosen a good classic cherry Pepsi in the fine china, as you can see. Very fine china here.
Oh, Skylanders, nice. I probably still have my Skylanders sitting around here somewhere. I chose Fresca, which I never drank this before. I've never liked fruity sodas, so grapefruit citrus. That's not going to be very fun to drink. So, I also brought a little shot glass. I don't know why it has a handle, but this is the only thing we had. So,
I think it's supposed to look like a beer mug.
I guess. I don't know, but that's how it's going to go. So, I've got it pulled up. It's let's just start.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Consumer Cellular, by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
We're watching this on PBS instead of ABC, but, you know, hosted by ABC.
Welcome to PBS News special live coverage of the ABC News presidential debate in Philadelphia. I'm Jeff Bennett.
And I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight is a high-pressure moment for both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Polls show that the race is a coin flip, and a good performance could provide momentum for either candidate as they enter the final sprint to Election Day, now just 55 days away.
This is the first and perhaps only time we will see these two candidates share a stage before the election, and the debate begins right now.
And Lindsay Davis. Good evening, I'm David Muir, and thank you for joining us for tonight's ABC News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate.
Yeah, I kind of made him more of a whiny bitch.
No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight.
I mean, they can still
at the
try,
National
though.
Constitution Center. This is an
He
intimate
could just
setting for
yell
two
over.
candidates
He could
who
just,
have never
or he
met.
could just walk
President
up
Trump
and
won the
slap her in the
coin
face.
toss
That'd be
and
funny.
chose the final
That'd be
closing
funny
we
if he
see him-
got up and walked over
Vice
there.
President Harris selected
If we
the
see,
podium to the
I
right.
don't
So
doubt
let's
that
now
we'll see
welcome
them
the
at least
candidates to the
try
stage.
to use their
Vice
mics at
President
least
Kamala
once,
Harris and
Yeah.
President Donald
and that will
Trump.
count. That will count for interrupting.
Yeah,
It's still an attempt.
there they are.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want
Oh,
to begin
man,
tonight with
I'm
the issue
excited.
that voters repeatedly say is their #1 issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
Ooh, she's already
I
taking
believe
shots.
in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to startup small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. we were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again, and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this.
Where was president during COVID?
Vice President Harris.
Shit, we should have added one for off topic.
I would love to.
No,
Let's
we'd be
talk
dead.
about what Donald Trump
That's the
left
point.
us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
January 6th.
And what we have done is clean up Donald
Did
Trump's
she say that?
mess. What we have
She said
done
the
and
worst
what I
attack on
intend to do
democracy.
is
That's
build
January 6th
on
she's
what
talking
we know
about.
are the aspirations and the hopes of the American
it's
people. But
too-
I'm going to tell you all in
okay,
this
let me-
debate tonight, you're going to hear
President Harris respond on the economy.
Me.
epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done
I don't
is
know.
clean up
I don't know if I
Donald
want to
Trump's
count it or
mess.
not.
What we
Because it
I mean, there's
could-
literally nothing. There's nothing else she could be referring to,
Yeah.
because that's what the left has always called Jan 6th.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, because she hasn't directly brought it up. She just mentioned it offhand, and she didn't directly call out the event itself.
I mean, she is actively calling it out. She's saying that he's the reason
She's
it happened.
alluding to it, but she's not directly talking about it.
I mean, I'm counting it. I'm counting even like a mention. You don't have
All
to.
right. Nah, man. Let's do this. This is why.
Do it.
Ooh, look at that. Cummy jizz. Cummy jizz.
Jeez.
All right.
Do it.
I'm joining the cult. That is definitely fruity. That is definitely very fruity. I
Is it
can't
not-
I can't say I enjoy it. I can't say I would drink it regularly, but it is. It's okay.
You got a mildly unpleasant. There's like a mildly mid.
It's mid. It's mid.
Yeah.
It's and the aftertaste isn't doing much for me. I don't like that.
Okay.
All right.
we
Let's
have
get back
done
to it.
and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025.
There it is. All right. There it is. All right.
There's our first definite one.
Yeah, that was definitely our first one. All right.
How we're not even 5 minutes in.
We're not even 5 minutes in. We're so fucked. We're gonna die. I'm gonna throw up from how much carbonated liquid I'm drinking. How much cummy jizz is going in my mouth.
Cummy jizz.
Cummy jizz. It does look like that. It looks like cum.
It does. It does.
This stuff should never ever leave the can because it looks like cum.
Continue.
Yes.
The former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people
Oh yeah, we should probably have a cool down on the words and topics. So we aren't
also,
repeatedly drinking if they say it
also-
multiple times in a sentence.
yeah. Also, earlier when Trump had his citation, he also mentioned migrant crime,
But he didn't say the word. The words,
Yeah, but he
the
said-
words lists, they specifically have to say those exact words.
Oh, okay. Never.
Yeah,
well,
yeah, that's
no.
the
It's in the
difference.
topics. No, it's in the topics.
No, it's not.
Oh no, never mind. Sorry, wrong one.
Yeah, you're still looking at the wrong one.
I'm looking at the wrong one.
You're
Sorry.
stupid. You're stupid. Yeah, it specifically has the words. They specifically have to say those as written. The topics they can it just has to be.
Mhm.
They just have to allude to the topic. Is what
Gotcha,
we're
gotcha,
deciding
gotcha.
on now.
Okay. Yeah.
People
So for the
want
words, it
a
has to be a
president-
hard, like, exact. Okay.
Yeah, they have to say it word for word. What I wrote down.
Okay, got it.
who
Gotcha.
understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out
Doesn't
there.
count. Doesn't count. We're putting in a cool down. We're gonna have a cool down of
it.
like 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I haven't
Okay.
read
Yeah.
it. I don't want to read it.
A cool down for repeated things.
I was gonna say like per response. So like once it switches to the next person,
Yeah.
do you
yeah.
think that should reset our cooldown?
Yeah. Yeah. You got it. I'm not gonna try and repeat it. What he said.
Yeah.
But
So we wouldn't drink
It-
on this, but next time it comes back to Kamala.
yes, only repeat words. That
Okay.
we're talking about like repeated things.
Purposely,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic, and the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died. Has there been anything like it? We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy.
You told people to drink bleach. You did that.
He
You
told
did
people to
that.
drink bleach.
You did that. You told people to put bleach inside of their bodies to fight COVID. What are you talking about?
And where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me
Gowns.
credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
I also
So-
should have added a topic like anytime they blame COVID for something.
I feel like it's been long enough that it wouldn't. I felt like it's been long enough that it wouldn't come up that
No.
often.
This is politics. They're still gonna blame COVID.
Yeah, this is politics.
Do we want to do we want to addendum right now every time they
No,
blame
we can't
COVID?
make an addendum. We can't make any addendums
Damn.
because we're only 5 minutes in, and I've already had to drink twice. So
Fair enough. Okay, keep going.
Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look,
he did it. He's trying to interrupt her. It's her time. It's her time.
Yeah,
I
we're
don't know
not
why
even.
you find this so funny.
It is funny. It's so funny. It's funny because we called it.
Yeah, he's trying to talk over her.
It's
That
also
counts.
very funny. It's also funny because you can't hear him.
Yeah, he can't hear him. He's trying to shout and trying to get picked up by her mic.
I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else.
Bacon! He's back on bacon.
The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having, on the short end of the stick, in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you.
She came
First of
prepared.
all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago.
I think she did. I think that counts. She
That
did
counts.
just try to talk. That counts. I don't like grapefruit. It's not good. I don't like it.
The window. She's going to my philosophy
Suffer.
now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy, but
I told
she
you!
never got
Told you we
elected.
should have
She
put MAGA.
Yeah, before we started, he did say we should have had MAGA be one of the words, but I thought, like, it doesn't come up that much anymore. It's kind of just like, it's still his slogan, but it doesn't really come up that much. Whatever.
And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country,
She's having so much
and
fun.
when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And
why did my webcam just stop? Hello?
Weird.
Friend?
Yeah, you're not moving.
Uh-oh.
You're not moving.
Uh-oh.
You're not
Friend.
moving. You are paralyzed.
That's not good.
You are
Okay.
paralysis.
All right, there we go. There we go. Fixed. Okay.
just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often
That's one. That's one of our words.
What?
Abortion.
Abortion.
Abortion is one of our words.
that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job.
Is he going to say it?
But the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby.
He did
That's
it!
why I did.
He said it! He said it again! He said it again! he's still on this! He still thinks this lie is working!
He thinks it!
He still thinks people believe it!
Oh, no way! Oh, no way!
Oh my god!
Did that because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born. Abortion is okay. And that's not okay with...
He did mention Tim Walz, and she did just try to talk over him, so that is 2.
That's 2.
That is 2. I'm not having a good time. I'm not having a good time over here. Fresca sucks.
With me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state
Ohio,
is
the vote was
voting.
somewhat
it's the
skibbity.
vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Yes! Thank you!
There we go.
Moderators who do their job! Thank you!
Madam Vice President, your response to.
Oh man, that's what we've been waiting for!
Holy shit, people who do their jobs.
Moderators who are properly moderating. Thank you.
Stop spreading misinformation.
Stop spreading misinformation. We're not online. It's not funny.
We're not on Twitter. It's not funny.
We're not on Twitter. We're not on Discord. We're not in the group chat where we talk about drinking the blood of virgin babies.
He just wants those stem cells for himself. Keeps him eternally young.
Nice. Nice.
President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides...
I mean, we are on to her talk now, so I guess the abortion counts.
Yup. To be fair, it is the entire topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is why it was a good idea to set the cooldown.
Yes.
Provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term? They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion.
Damn it, she said it. She was going off. She was going off so hard. Oh my God.
She's making good points here.
She came prepared.
Yeah.
She came so prepared. Oh my God.
She is slaying this debate right now.
She is so good at this. She doesn't have like the best charisma. She can't control a room the way Trump can, but she's
one-on-one debates,
saying all the
though.
right things. She's saying all the right things.
She's definitely good at one-on-one debates.
Oh my God, I love her so much. In not in that way. Not in that way. I love her as a politician. I love her the way a citizen of the United States of America can love a politician. Why am I praying? Am I retarded? Possibly. Don't give me that look. Pot of greed. Oh God, I'm gonna put a silly sound effect over that. I'm gonna put a silly sound effect and have the pot of greed fade in next to
I'll
you.
remind you. I'll remind you.
monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice
I
President.
play pot of
Harris.
greed and draw
Well, there
3
she goes
abortions.
again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter.
Maybe putting abortion on the list wasn't a good idea.
I mean, it won't come up as much after we're done with the topic.
That is true. You're probably going to need a refill soon, yeah? I'm probably halfway through my can.
I've got my
Because
2-liter in the
this
fridge.
issue has now
Cool.
been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well, I
to your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government, and we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade, and as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray
We have to count it.
and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country?
Oh yeah, the abortion ban also bans IVF.
Who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can
you know what that
barely
is.
afford
I do.
childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through.
What was that?
is
What did he just do?
unconscionable. And the people
you see
of
that shit?
America have not. The
Yeah.
majority of
Why
Americans
would- what did he-
believe
what's
in
he
a
doing
woman's
with his
right to make
mouth?
decisions about her own body, and
He was
that is
probably
why in every
physically
state
holding
where
himself
this
back because he
issue has
wanted to
been on
talk
the ballot,
back.
in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on
He didn't
IVF
even let the
from
moderator
Alabama
talk.
Courts, I saw the people of
Do
Alabama.
we count that 'cause he
and
interrupted the
legislature
moderator?
2 days later
No,
voted it in.
interrupting each other.
I've been a leader on it.
No,
Okay.
one candidate tries to interrupt the other.
Okay.
Didn't say anything about
They
moderators.
know that,
All right,
and
never mind then.
everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v. Wade,
Answer the question. Would you
They're
veto?
talking over each other.
They're talking over each other. It counts. God damn it. Why can't either of them control themselves?
No.
I mean, I know why she can't control herself. It's because she's debating a monkey.
Because he's putting words in her mouth right now.
Yeah. Actual. Oh my God, dog. Fuck.
You could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside, and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump.
He's saying it again.
We're going to turn now to
Saying it
immigration
again.
and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board
All right.
in this country.
No more
Vice
abortion
President
talk.
Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States.
Fent!
I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been
Fent!
personally
I
affected
love
by
Ben.
the surge of
I love
fentanyl in the
Fent!
country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight,
Look at
even
his
when it's
stupid
not the
face.
subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
She won! She won politics!
She said, "Go to his rally." It's bullshit.
That is genuinely the most badass thing I've heard in this entire election cycle. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Did he actually say windmills cause cancer?
I don't know. I kind of stopped paying attention to anything he said the first time he brought up Hannibal Lecter. After that, I just kind of gave up. Oh my god. That is the most badass thing I have heard in this election cycle. Holy shit. She wins. She wins. There's nothing else that needs to be said. She just won. Oh my god.
President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
What?
They are eating.
They're eating the pets. They're eating the pets. They're eating the
They're
cats
eating
and
the
the
dogs.
dogs. They're eating the goldfish too. They're eating the goldfish, and we need to stop.
They're
it,
eating the
folks.
parrots. They're eating the parrots. The
they're
drumsticks
eating the parrots.
go very well with Harris's tears.
And they go. I tell you, JD Vance.
They go exquisitely with the blood of immigrants.
I tell you what, JD Vance told me there's nothing that JD Vance told me himself, there's nothing that goes better after a night of having sexual intercourse with your couch cushions than a nice hamster just eaten raw. You need to shave it first, but after that you can eat it raw.
What is bro saying? What is he saying?
As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield,
Venezuela or
Ohio,
steroids?
and ABC News did.
Yeah. There was an O. There was an R. There was not an N. There was an R right there. What?
Reached out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my.
Yeah, those guys on TV, those guys on TV, they were eating pets. That totally means they do it in real life.
He is literally the same as his voters. He and his voters are the same exact people. They believe everything they see on TV.
I saw on the television, I saw a Japanese girl transform into a magical girl. I didn't know all high schoolers could do that. Hey, you young miss, young high schooler, where are your magical bows? Where is your magic wand?
That's fucked. That's fucked, dude. That's so fucked. You can't say that. You can't just say that.
Trump is a weeb.
You can't. God.
Dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of it.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
Extreme. You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of
Dick Cheney.
former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congressmember Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track,
What are you
on
laughing
who
about?
the former president is, if he didn't
No,
make it clear
nothing.
already, just
No,
ask
him.
people who have worked with him.
Oh.
His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former
Why are
national
you
security
nodding?
advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never
He has no
survive
rules, no laws,
another
no boundaries,
Trump
no more.
term.
He's not loyal to one
And
country
when we
or
listen
city or
to
idea.
this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond
Yeah.
here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I
So
fired
fat.
most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president, in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk
He's
about
a
earlier,
fucking
so
idiot.
let's get back to your
Yeah,
deportation.
how did we get so far off topic? How did we get so off topic? I don't even know what they're talking about anymore.
They talked
They're
first about
supposed to be talking about immigration, but now I don't know what the topic is.
because you know
They've derailed it so
the immigrants are eating dogs.
They're eating
The
dogs, they're
immigrants-
eating cats, they're eating parrots and gerbils. I even saw one eat a goldfish. And I saw it, folks, and I even saw some salmon being eaten. I don't know if that was a pet. It could have been just wild salmon. Now I think that might have been a bear, actually. I think that might have been a bear eating the salmon.
They were eating pigs. They were eating bacon. Pigs are great pets. I have one myself.
Her name is Ivanka. That was fucked. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that.
Leave it in. Leave it in.
I've met many pigs in my day. There was the one from Animal Farm. I really liked the pig in Animal Farm. Charlotte's Web. That's another great pig. Peppa Pig. I love that her eyes are non-Euclidean. They appear on either side of her head, depending on where she's looking at on the screen. I love all those pigs, but one pig I don't like is my opponent right here, Kamala Harris. She's my least favorite one. I bet if you turned her into bacon, it'd taste like cardboard and lies. See, I'm good. I'm really good at doing like what he calls the weave. I'm really good at just rambling on and doing run-on sentences, but I can't get his voice right. I can't really.
That's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to. We all know what you're. We all know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's. I think the vibe is more important than being able to do the voice good.
The vibe is more important than the voice.
So if you're really good at the voice, but you just say normal sentences, it's not gonna fit because that's not what he does. He never does that.
You gotta get the vibe is better than the voice. Anyway, let's continue.
A proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S.
With local
military.
police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And This will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow, and I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening.
Migrant crime!
Yes, I knew it. I knew it was going to come up. That was the one that I was most confident in. I was most confident that
All
one
right,
was
hold
going to
up.
come up.
I gotta refill my cup.
I was most confident that we were getting migrant crime. Ooh. Careful with the fizz.
I'm ready.
Also, more than half his time is gone, I'm pretty sure. Either that or this has been the longest 30 seconds of my life. So I don't know when he's going to answer the actual question. Right now, he's just slandering her. And I don't know when he's actually going to answer the question that he was asked.
At levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted.
Let's go! Yeah! Yeah! His conviction! Cheers. I will drink to that.
Yeah.
For national security crimes, economic crimes,
Look at his
election
face.
interference, has been found liable for
I didn't do those
sexual
crimes.
assault,
I did not.
and his
I did
next
not.
big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear, where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the
Did you
American
just see a
people
bird?
are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every
know
one of
the-
those
you know the-
cases was.
You know what the moderators need to do?
What?
They need to, when they get so off topic like this, they just need to hold up a sign that has the topic they should be talking about on it. Just imagine them going off on this like whole tangent. Imagine them going off on this whole tangent. And
guys, this is what you're supposed to be talking
no,
about.
it's just a sign. It's just a sign that just says immigration.
Or even better, they just have a catch-all sign that just says "Get back on topic."
Or just says topic.
Topic.
Started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the
"No, I'd
Justice
win."
Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies.
He did say
Someone
that.
who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice
to
President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
Hey, pay attention,
This is
dipshit.
the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized.
Hey, dipshit. Pay
What?
attention. Stop looking at your phone or whatever you're doing. She mentioned JD Vance.
Oh, she did?
Yes, she
I didn't
did.
even notice that one.
Yeah, because you're not paying attention.
Sorry.
You should be. Apologize again.
I'm sorry.
Good boy. What the hell, dude? You're supposed to let me do that. You're supposed to let me kill you. I'm supposed to tie a garrote wire around your neck and then shoot you in the butthole.
What?
Yeah, the garrote wire is a red herring.
Okay, got it.
I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they.
He brought up the
Another
attempt.
one. He brought up the assassination attempt. My can's almost empty. Cheers.
This is my first refill.
My can is almost empty. I've got like maybe one more
say
shot
about
left.
me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy
President
with a fake
Trump.
Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for
We're halfway
president,
over.
you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases.
Look at his fucking face.
My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history.
He looks like he keeps getting put into the character creator. He's like cycling through random expressions.
Cycling through the random facial
He's cycling through all his
expressions.
different preset neutral expressions. He's got like 7 different neutral expression presets, and he keeps cycling through them because the player hasn't decided on what preset they want to choose.
Yeah.
Because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work, to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and
What
children
is his
from
jaw
violent crime
doing? I
is
can't
based on
stop
a
looking at
value
him.
that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most
He's
vulnerable.
getting in his mewing
My
between
work that is about protecting
between talking.
He's getting in his mewing. He's behind schedule.
He's behind schedule on his.
God, Kamala is not immune to the stereotype of politicians being boring as fuck. I am very much enjoying just watching his facial expressions.
I mean, to be fair, politics in general is boring as fuck. The only
Yeah,
reason I'm
she
able to
is
sit,
not
the
immune.
only reason I'm able to sit through this right now is because we're making a game out of it.
Yeah. She is absolutely not immune to the stereotype of politicians being painfully, agonizingly boring. The only thing that's kept me going so far is the game and watching his facial expressions.
Yeah.
He looks like somebody's messing around in SFM. They look like they're just sliding around the different face presets.
Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down. And name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well,
response?
first of all, I wasn't given $400
He,
million. I wish I was.
He blew his gay lover a kiss from the other side of the screen.
God, dude.
That was him going, "Miss you, kitten."
I'll be on Discord tonight. Keep your mic hot for me.
Keep your mic hot for me. I will tell you how much Kamala is a bitch.
My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out.
What? Did he just silence the moderator?
No, I think that was Kamala talking. Was that the moderator? No, I don't think that was.
No, she wasn't talking though, was she? She was shaking her
That
head.
stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out.
Yeah,
wait a minute,
she was. She started.
Yeah, it
she
was
popped
her. I
over.
thought so.
Do you have another can of it?
Gross cult drink. I do have another can. I did bring one just in case.
Alright, sweet.
God. Oh, he is so mad.
If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Look at her.
She went out. She went out.
I
so wish I heard what she said.
Oh my god! That is the angriest face that is the angriest I've ever seen him while simultaneously keeping a neutral face. He did the side eye. That was a crazy side eye. He was like, that was nuts. That was actually nuts that I just got to see him do that. I have never ever seen him do that before. Oh my god.
In Minnesota, and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail.
And ate their pets.
She did things that nobody would ever think
She did
of.
that.
Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a rat.
What? Huh? Did he just string together the most ridiculous? Did he just string together the most extreme buzzwords he could in that moment?
I think he did. How did he combine those? How did he do that?
I think we need to take a drink just for that.
I feel like that deserves. Oh my god. Transgender operations on immigrants who are in prison. That's
What?
insane.
That's so insane.
That is insane.
That is so insane.
Radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to
Liberal.
confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take
And of course, the windmills that cause
400,
cancer. You're right,
500
right.
acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get
environment,
to.
as
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Solar panels that give you
We
AIDS.
have an election in just 56 days.
You know,
didn't say
the
that, but he
solar
probably did. He probably said that.
the solar panels covering up all that desert land that totally supports so much lush greenery otherwise.
Absolutely.
Am I right?
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol.
January
You
6th.
said you would be right there with them. The country.
All right.
Hold up. While you have it paused, I'm going to piss because the soda's going right through me.
Weak. He's so weak and wimpy. I drink my cum like a man. Well, this is going to be a very uninteresting part of the VOD, so, let's see. This is one of the few this is actually the only poster on my wall that I didn't get at Comic-Con. I got this one from my first Comic-Con. I got Walter White's missing poster and this special poster, the You Are Special poster from my second Comic-Con I went to. And then this one, D-Max brought this home for me from the most recent one that I didn't go to because I couldn't get the ticket. And he's back. Perfect.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
All right.
In the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was
There it is!
Yeah.
That was the one. That was the second one I was most confident about coming up. I really need to stop blocking the glass with my hand. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I don't drink.
Also,
I've never even touched a shot glass until today because I am only 20 years old. I've never drank. I'm a normal person.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about how quickly he made that left turn?
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause
this
I
isn't-
did not
this isn't
enable these
leaving, This
people.
is just going off topic.
I did not enable these people, but you know who is enabling people? This bitch right here.
I did not enable people. I did not enable them to go and storm the Capitol. But you know who is enabling people to do crimes? This stupid cunt who is letting these illegal immigrants in here and letting them do migrant crime. Unlike the crime that I let people commit on the Capitol, that's completely different. That's not migrant crime. That's awesome crime that I think is awesome and cool.
Not to mention, she is giving them transgender surgeries after they get arrested. It is all a ploy to increase the transgender population.
If I win and she'll come back for me in 4 years, and when she loses, she's gonna send people to the Capitol to give she's gonna send people from the Supreme Court. They're gonna storm the Supreme Court and they're gonna make all of the justices get transgender surgeries. They're gonna
and not only that, afterwards they're gonna feed them their pets.
They're gonna make them eat their own pets, folks. They're gonna make them eat their own pets. And then afterwards, they're gonna go to the House of Representatives, and then they're gonna, instead of making them eat their pets, they're gonna make the pets eat them, and then they're gonna give the pets transgender surgeries.
So now nobody can be punished because otherwise the genderphobic. Whatever I keep forgetting what the phobic.
That was perfect. His sentence just ended. That was perfect. Actually, that's more of a Joe Biden thing. He just kind of trails off and just stops mid sentence.
I was trying to think like is it just sexist if it's against transgenders, or is it like
I don't know. Genderphobic is absolutely something he'd say. It's not genderphobic to want all the trannies dead.
I'm not genderphobic. I don't want all the trannies dead. Just the ones that don't agree with me politically.
Just the ones that I think are weird, which is all of them. Just
Literally,
the ones that I don't like.
Wait, you're telling me he didn't say this? What?
Yeah, genderphobic's absolutely something he would come up with. He probably has said it before.
Borders are. She doesn't want to be called the borders are because she's embarrassed by
Borders
that.
are.
She said at the beginning.
He already said it.
You're not talking about the border
sorry.
yet. That's because she knows what a bad
blanked
job
on
they've done.
the previous
What
one.
about those people? What are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. Might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were
after
watching
the rations of
on
pet meat
television.
run out.
It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago, her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured. and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches.
Did that count? I just wrote Trump's conviction as a topic. I guess.
They're not as impeachment. Conviction is different from impeachment.
But
I think
she said indicted.
that's true. You know what? Do you want to count it? I'll leave that up to you.
We'll sit on it. If she
We'll
brings
sit
it
on
up
it.
again, we'll count it.
Spewing
Okay.
anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
Wait, Hunter. Dude, I'm sorry for laughing. This is like
you do
the most
realize
boring
you're
moment.
on camera, bro, right?
This is
You're
the most.
laughing
This is
at
the most boring moment. But like, I need to give context because right in the middle of her saying this, in the corner of my screen, it said "Mad Heroin Addict is now playing Space Marine 2." Like, this is one of my friends on Steam. I'm sorry, I couldn't hold it in.
Nice. Fucking nice.
Mad Heroin.
My goodness.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related
That's why I
to
was
energy
laughing.
because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where Bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this.
They just
you
mentioned
talk about
2025.
the
But he
Capitol.
didn't say project.
Why are
Okay.
we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this
Why is
debate
bro
right
stripping?
now. I'd like to see her
It's
go
hot in
down
this room.
to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the
4
border
o'clock?
is closed, all he has to
Was that
you'll get
was
him
that
out
a-
of bed.
Was that a racist remark about siestas?
No, he's talking about the president. He's talking about Sleepy Joe.
Oh, he's talking about Sleepy Joe.
You're a fucking idiot, dog. Are you even
I'm
paying
sorry. I
attention?
thought
Do you
no,
need
I heard it.
subtitles? Do you need subtitles,
No,
buddy?
I heard immigrants, and I forgot he was talking. I guess I didn't hear when he said.
You
when he
didn't
mentioned
connect it in your mind, even
I
though
didn't
it was
connect it in my
it was
mind.
the most clear segue he's ever done in his whole life.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was expecting him to loop it back to. It's because I was thinking he's about to loop it back to immigrants.
That's fair. That's fair. He does.
My
do
thought
that
process
way
is,
too
oh,
much.
he's gonna make this about. He's gonna talk about immigrants specifically again.
Yeah, he does do that way too much. I don't blame you.
do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
Oh yeah, that was a huge thing. That was a huge thing in recent weeks. He did do an interview with somebody, and he did say that exact quote. He said, I lost by a whisker. So
Yeah, because that completely goes against his agenda that he was spewing for the past, like, 3.5 years.
yeah, he's been lying for the past 3.5 years, and that is now undeniable that he's been lying. So I was hoping this would come up. I am very excited for this.
Okay, let's see. It's here.
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say that.
sarcastically.
But
You know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back
He's
to the
doubling down.
legislatures for
He is.
approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video.
Topic.
I didn't detect the sarcasm. Lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican.
judge looked at it.
And said
They
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president.
The hell are you doing?
Adjusting something at my feet.
Oh.
Of
I'm
the
still
United
listening.
States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you, you'll do a
He just said it! He just said it!
He just said it.
special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he's still.
I knew it! What are you doing? Why'd you write it backwards?
Well, my camera is reversed.
Okay, but in the video it's not gonna be.
Okay, my bad. I'll write it backwards.
That was the whole thing I talked about when we were setting this up, that I flipped our cameras horizontally so my posters wouldn't be all fucked.
I mean, if you're doing it in the video,
Yes, I'm doing it in the video.
then it'll show up as right side.
No, it won't. It's backwards right now. Look, you can see on your you can see this says Gnissim.
No, it said it's right side on mine.
What?
It's right way on mine.
Okay, did you write that backwards or forwards?
Forwards.
Okay. So you didn't write it backwards.
I wrote it forwards.
Why is your camera flipped and mine isn't?
I have no idea. Anyway, the joke was topic.
I got the joke, but it was completely ruined by the fact that it's flipped the wrong way because apparently your camera is flipped naturally and mine isn't. That is really weird.
I think because you can flip your camera, but you probably can't flip mine.
No, because I'm recording the Discord window. So I just flipped to the window capture. So both of our cameras are flipped.
Okay.
In the same direction. from where they start. They're both the orientation
mine's-
that they're starting at. They're both flipped horizontally.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, in the current Discord window that I'm looking at, it was backwards. So I don't know. Anyway, it's whatever.
That's weird.
Sorry,
Okay.
jokes ruined.
Yeah. Now we're the ones going off topic.
Yeah.
He did not lose the election. That was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time
That was another badass line. That was good.
processing that.
That's a good way to word it, too.
But we
He was
cannot
essentially
afford
just
to have a
fired.
president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the
I think I'm going to count that
as
our secret item, which is Joe Biden is brought up and Trump starts talking about him as if they are star-crossed lovers.
No way.
I'm going to count that.
Wait, please explain your reasoning. Please explain your reasoning.
Because he's clearly mad that he's not running against Joe, right? he's clearly pissed off that he's not running against that man. And so he's whining and complaining, and he says that if he didn't take that debate that day, then Joe would still be here, and I could still debate him and kiss him on the mouth.
You know what? I'll take that reasoning. Oh shit, I still got quite a bit left in my cup. I still got quite a bit in my cup.
We have to chug. I'm gonna say 3 seconds. Okay. Because
I
would
drink
not
the
be
rest of
able.
my cup.
I wouldn't be able to finish an entire one of these without vomiting. Honestly.
I drink the rest of my cup.
Yeah. Good for you. Good on you. Oh. Oh boy.
Ain't no way we actually got the secret
I
item.
can't believe it. I can't believe it.
I'm gonna be honest. I think we've hit everything but 3 items.
We haven't hit a lot. We haven't hit
weird, Gaza, Hamas, or Israel, fake news. We haven't hit Russo-Ukrainian
Harris's,
war and Harris's ethnicity. So there's 5
and
things
he
we haven't
hasn't
hit.
he hasn't said any of his stupid ass nicknames, so there's
Oh,
6 we
yeah.
haven't hit. Oh god, that didn't feel good. That really did not feel good. I should have just drank actual alcohol. That probably somehow feel less horrible.
No. Alcohol is also some alcohols are also slightly carbonated.
Yeah, but I feel like it still would have been more bearable than drinking Fresca. It's really not
You're the one who
good.
chose to drink, man.
There's a reason they put it in the boys as the official drink of a cult.
The official drink of a cult. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yep, that was the whole plot point. Okay.
Here.
Oh god, I don't feel good.
You need a little break?
No, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Oh, fuck me, dude. Am I still recording? Yeah, we're still recording. We've been going for an hour and a half so far.
Yeah, it's okay.
I got tummy hurt. I have a
Me
tummy
hurty.
God. And what are you doing?
Here, is this better?
Yeah, there we go. Nice.
Topic.
All right. Now you can hold that up whenever you need to.
Hell yeah. Going in my lap. It's going in my lap where you should be right now, Pookie.
Hostages who are still
I can't. That was fucked. That was fucked. You can't say that. You cannot say that. That was horrible. They're gonna start shipping us. I don't want to be the next Dream Not Found or the next Septiplier. Please. Please no. Don't worry, guys. I only have like 7 subscribers. I'll be fine.
Alright. Alright.
still being
Let's
held
go.
Americans among them. Vice
Okay,
President
what
Harris
is
in
even the
December
topic now?
Failed, and now she's running. I don't understand it, but
Mr.
I'm
President,
okay with it
Mr.
because
President, your time is
I
up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held Americans
Oh,
among
Israel,
them.
Hamas.
Vice President
There
Harris
we go. All right, that's another one. That's another one checked off. I love drinking cum.
So now we are missing 5.
December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization,
Cool down.
slaughtered
Yep, still hard time.
1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
How are you going to do it,
Work
though, was the
around clock,
question.
also understanding that we must chart a course for a 2-state solution. And in that solution. There must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed.
Ukraine!
There it is! Oh, God.
I called it.
By the way,
I know Putin very well. I kiss him on the mouth regularly.
no, that's his lips are Joe only. By the way, I did like a smidgen of research for before this debate. The very first date on the Wikipedia article for the I don't know how you pronounce it, Joe Russo, whatever. Russo-Ukrainian War. The first date that comes up on that Wikipedia page is October 2014. 2 years before you even became president. So
right. There were threats of this.
Yeah, so you are a fucking idiot. You are a moron. Thank you.
Literally. And also, not to mention, not even talking about Russia.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this. No one asked about Russia.
We added up far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden,
also it is his time now.
She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a
It is his time now,
speech.
so.
She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been...
What?
Is he fucking stupid?
He's schizophrenic.
He is actually insane.
In my alternate universe fan fiction, when the ultimate evil Kamala Harris ascends to presidency, there will be no Israel. She will eradicate Israel off the face of the earth using her Uber Bankai, using her Rasen Shuriken. She will obliterate Israel.
Does he not know that she's the vice president to the man who is sending $3 billion to Israel every 2 weeks? Does he not know? Does he know? He doesn't know. He doesn't know. Does he know?
He may not.
Does he know?
I don't think he does.
He doesn't know.
He does not.
Pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror.
He is very much on topic. Shut the hell up.
Money. It was a big story, and you know it.
No, the topic is how would you end the war?
They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely...
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
Vice President, he called you a poopy butthole.
Are they actually entertaining this?
Yeah.
Are they actually entertaining this?
Vice President, he called you a fatty.
Vice President, he says you hate all Jewish people and all. Oh God! We're right back to square one when he called Biden Palestinian. We're right back to square one. Oh my God!
Vice President, he said your J's are fake.
Vice President, there's a cool frog outside. Can you? Vice President, he said your drip is whack. Are they actually entertaining this?
Vice President, he said nuh-uh.
They're actually entertaining this. Oh my God. Oh, fuck, dude.
Absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according.
By the way, a thing I said earlier, his face. Oh God!
I just saw his face.
All this carbonation is not doing me very good.
You can stop drinking if you want.
Absolutely not. I'm not a pussy.
Okay.
His face. He makes the same like 12 faces. It's all just presets. He always just makes the same 12 presets throughout his entire life. He actually is just a video game character. He doesn't have more than 12 different expressions programmed into him. That's all he can do.
I like how during like his topic, the reason I put up the topic sign is because he was asked about how he would break the stalemate in Israel, and then he started talking about Russia and Ukraine, and he said he'd end the Russian-Ukraine war before he became president.
Before he even became president.
And that wasn't even the topic.
Yeah, and also that's literally not possible, but okay, buddy.
Exactly.
According to himself, it is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so
She
clear.
supports the ship.
They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her.
Moderators.
Said, I hope.
Moderators, no, she did.
Quime weights. He said quime weights.
Quime weights. He right now he's literally just going, moderators, no, she did.
Moderators, it was her, not me. Moderators, whoever smelt it dealt it.
Moderators, Uno reverse card.
No. You struck
Yeah,
out.
that was.
Sorry, man.
Yeah. That was
she wins, and I think he meant it, because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Oh God, I can't.
They're like, damn, we need a recess. They're getting too off topic.
Oh God, how long has the debate actually been going on?
According to Zoe, it just ended.
After this.
Oh God.
Because Zoe watched
This
it all
PBS
live,
News
and she just
presentation
texted
is
me.
made
That's what I
possible
looked
by-
at just
Oh,
now. She
man,
said
yeah.
it's over.
Yeah, we've only been an actual. It's actually only been an hour.
Yeah.
We've been here for nearly 2 hours, but it's actually only been an hour. We are yappers, dude.
But it's funny though.
It
It's
is,
content.
but we're yappers. We need to stop yapping.
But we're being funny.
Also, my
For viewers
stomach
like
hurt.
you.
But Trump likes kissing other dictators.
There's so much divisiveness
stomach
in this
hurts.
country.
Heightened tensions.
You just have to choose.
Oh
a
wait,
side.
why am I
You
not just
automatically
fast forwarding?
Yeah, we just fast forward, bro.
Yeah.
Obama.
We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more.
He can't help
because
himself.
they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are.
He's edging our
They're
fake
in for
news
$150
quotations.
billion less because Biden
He's edging our fake news word.
He's edging our fake news.
He keeps saying fake, but he won't just say news. Please just say news. Please. We're so close. We almost have bingo. We almost have all of them.
and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president,
literally not possible, but okay.
What I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him.
He's going to put him in a room and go, say you're sorry.
And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here...
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you...
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plan. I'm gonna call one, call the other, get them both in the room, and they're not gonna know the other one's gonna be there. And when I get them in that room, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do to them. I'm gonna lock the doors, and I'm gonna tell them, now say you're sorry and hug and kiss and make up, and when you go home, the war will be over. Less than 24 hours.
I can't do this, man. I'm about to strike out. I can't do this. It's too much.
Believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win
with what, the drinks?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up.
You're not
And that's
flirting
not
with your
who we are as
boyfriend.
Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been
Talking over.
Quiet, please! He actually just said quiet, please. Oh my god.
Like,
Oh, God, I hate
she's
this.
not even trying to hide it anymore.
Yeah, oh my god. He actually just said quiet, please. That is insane.
That is insane.
been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another one.
This fella!
When I went to meet
This
with President
fella.
Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before. If you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan.
It is quiet time.
In the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down.
Look at his stupid face.
He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the
Facial
Taliban.
expression number 5.
The negotiation involved the Taliban getting
Out of 12.
5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited.
She's so... Oh, that was a quick time event for her right there.
Yeah.
She almost failed the quick time event. She almost called him something horrible.
To Camp David because he does
almost
not
called him
again appreciate
I almost called him a terrorist.
role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul
you and me both,
was the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the
talking
Taliban.
about?
And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture
Look at her
of my
face.
house?
She's
I
just
said,
as
"You're gonna have to
confused as
figure
we
that
are."
out, Abdul. And for 18
Yeah.
months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
and
on.
these people did
I
the
wanna move on.
worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
That's
And
him
by the way,
going.
that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss
Dude.
are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr.
No,
President, you
nobody
recently
asked
said of
about
Vice President Harris,
Ukraine.
quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn
God
black,
damn it.
and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger
And now
picture
her race
question
has come up.
tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm
I
asking.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
Is he retarded?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people?
He heard ass.
Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up, Lindsay.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their
His face
ambitions, their
pisses me off.
innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life, to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She
please.
has a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have
plan
to
to not allow
up.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
No,
because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump,
president has said
no, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry.
I
We're
just
going
need
to
to
move on,
respond
Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this is
multiple
now
times.
your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote,
I feel bad
unless
for her.
we can do something much better. Last
I feel bad
month,
for
you said,
both the
quote, we're working on it.
moderators.
So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones, too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And
You
there
have a
are
plan?
concepts
It's a
and options
surprise.
we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not-too-distant future.
Vice
Secret.
President Harris, in 2017,
Do you have a
supported
plan?
Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand.
She is on topic, retard. Shut up.
Just saying though, that was made like that point that he made that point two topics ago.
They wouldn't let her respond to that. So she did it. So I respect what she just did. She responded to it as quickly as she could, and now she's back on topic. I respect that actually.
Okay. Never mind then. I retract my sign.
Good. I respect
Never mind,
that she
yeah.
wanted to respond to that, but they wanted to move on. So now that she has her time back, she responded as quickly as possible and then got right back on topic. I respect the hell out of that.
Okay.
I don't think there was a better way she could have handled that.
When Donald Trump was president,
Yeah, you know what, you're
60
right.
times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said, at the time because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did.
We finally
did.
beat Medicare.
And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president,
Get off
we
your
have
phone.
capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice
pass this
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made
of
a mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump-
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has
Why is he
experienced
mewing?
these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked
President,
up.
about climate change.
You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American
Editor, put the one
automobiles.
alternate
It
over Alex
includes
yawning.
growing what we can do around American manufacturing.
That one
and
Mandela
opening
catalog
up
alternate.
auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris.
I'm sorry, I'm
That
sleepy.
didn't happen
EB.
under Donald Trump. Let
I'm
me just
sleepy
tell you, they
too.
lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're
No,
not
he was
going to
gonna
let
turn it
that.
around
We'll
to
put
immigrants
tariffs on
in
those
other
cars so
countries.
they can't come into our country because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News.
Oh, thank God,
debate.
closing statements.
I am so over this. I want to,
I am too.
I want to die.
I am too. I am so over this.
We're gonna get through it.
We're almost done.
We're almost done. We're almost there.
Live from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
Damn, I love her.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years.
Not the
They've had
president.
3.5
She's
years
not the
to
president.
fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down
Moderators,
to that
my opponent
beautiful
is a
White
stupid
House,
lame-o
go to the
pants.
Capitol.
What? Stupid lame-o pants. That's insane. That's the craziest thing you've ever said. And I totally wouldn't put it past him. And I also didn't hear what he said because you were talking over him.
It's okay because it was funny.
Yeah.
Create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not.
2 examples,
Germany
by the way.
tried that, and within 1 year they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the
Which
world.
is illegal,
they
by
don't
the way.
understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here
I
at
think-
ABC News.
I think the funniest part, and it just encapsulates this entire debate really well, was the TLDR of both their closing statements. The TLDR of Kamala's is, hey, I don't think he's a good fit for this country. I have a plan, and I think I can do good. I think I can do, better for this country. And Trump's was, TLDR, my opponent is a stupid lame-o pants, and you shouldn't listen to her because she's stupid.
My opponent believes in eating dogs and transgendering your children. Yeah, that's right. I use transgender as a verb. Transgendering. Look it up. They're transgendering your children, folks. And it doesn't even matter if they want it or not. The children will come back in 15 years and they'll think, what the hell happened to me? And folks, this is the big problem here. They're eating dogs. They're transgendering our kids. They want to take our guns. They want to take our guns, which we could be using to shoot the people transgendering our kids. And then we could be shooting our transgendered kids. We could be shooting them.
And they're committing abortions, and they're having the stem cells with a side of pet jerky.
They're aborting our children in schools. They're making our children have abortions in schools and then turning them transgender. And we can't let it happen, folks. We can't let it happen. My penis is small. And it's because they tried to transgender me, but I said, no, I won't let you. I won't let you, but they almost gave me the surgery and it made my penis small.
The American people, I must inform you that Kamala Harris, she intends to make all school lunches pet meat. They're eating pets.
My opponent, cackling Kamala. Kamala wants pet meat in all the schools, even for the vegetarian kids. The vegetarian options will just be hamsters and gerbils. Because it's less meat. It's slightly less meat. They don't even know what vegetarian means. When I know that vegetarian obviously means that you only eat fish.
If they want to be vegetarian so much, have them overdose on weed and die.
I know more about being a vegan than anyone else on this stage. Which, by the way, she doesn't eat plants at all. She only eats meat of transgender babies.
And pets. She eats the meat of specifically transgender pets.
Specifically the transgender pets. Your cat is actually, she thinks your cat is actually a dog. And she thinks that your goldfish will someday become a parrot. And that's wrong, folks. That's wrong. Can somebody do who does a really good Trump impression? Can we just like transcribe everything we've said here today and then just pay you to read it out in a good Trump impression?
Please, we're begging you.
Please, we're begging you.
We'll revise it. We'll revise it a little bit so you're not repeating as much, but please.
He is in college and I am unemployed, but we'll figure something out.
We'll scrape something together. I'll sell my soul. I will sell my penis to the transgender surgery
I will sell my dog to be eaten by people in Minneapolis or wherever he said it was.
I don't even remember. I will sell my cat to be eaten. He is very fat. I will get a lot of money for his meat.
He is very fat. It is a fat-ass cat. God, I feel sick.
I'm so tired. I can't even. I'm so tired. I can't even. I'm barely forming a thought.
I'm barely functioning. I feel sick. I feel like I'm gonna throw up if I lay down, but
I need to piss really bad.
Yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye. We're out of here.
Video's over. Fuck you guys. I hate you all.
Video's over. We hate politics. We just like making fun of people.
I hate politics. I love laughing at morons. Which, unfortunately, morons and politics kind of synonyms, so.
Synonyms.
Synonym and a cinnamon bun.